Welcome to Maison Otaku. Come in, have a seat.
I'm Justin.
And I'm Mike.
And we're here to talk to you about anime. One more time.
Oh yes, one of many, hopefully.
One would imagine. Especially with good things happening up and about.
Oh yeah.
Firstly, very brief news this week. The new Ghost in the Shell series has actually come to Netflix. So if you're curious about what all the hubbub's about, new Ghost in the Shell, known as, the series of course is Arise. Whether or not you're totally sold on the artwork change, whether or not you're totally sold on the new voice cast, it's Masamune Shirow, baby.
Yeah. Yep, can't go wrong there. But yeah, not much else going on. I guess the only thing other I'd mention is on Netflix there's also a really cool documentary on there talking about a bunch of different voice actors. So I'll picture there because unfortunately the name's escaping me right now, but it's something like Whose Voice Is That or something.
Absolutely. I think I saw that pop up in my feed too. It mentions as the highlight John DiMaggio, who's of course the voice of Bender, along with a lot of other different voices. But if you're curious about that portion of animation, it's going to be a good watch.
Yep. So that's about it for the news right now. We'll talk about some acquisitions I have. This is in Japanese, but it's definitely something I had to pick up. In the dollars section, tape of Skeleton Warriors. This is kind of one of those things, I'm just aware that it existed, but, I mean...
Mike spent the duration of the 1980s as a child with no friends and very little parental involvement. So cartoons raised him. And we're not just talking, he had a lot of G.I. Joe and a lot of Transformers. Mike saw it all.
Yeah, well, more to the point, I did watch a little G.I. Joe and I did watch a little Transformers, but my mom was one of those Nazis who thought watching Ninja Turtles would make me go on a killing spree. So, I grew up on fricking Dino Riders and Botsmaster.
Mike could actually recite to you the names of more than 3 characters from Brave Star.
I can. But I won't. But yeah, getting into my other, much more interesting acquisition... Journey to Silius, which I'm pretty sure is supposed to be Sirius, but, English. But yes, I saw this at a GameStop, at the Exchange. Came with the manual, really nice condition, has this fancy wrapping. This is basically Sunsoft doing a combination of Contra and Mega Man, but much easier than both of those.
Yeah. It hits all the great notes for Sunsoft game. Fantastic music, tight controls, good graphics, wonky translation.
Yep.
And...
Now don't forget zero self-awareness.
Zero self-awareness. They're not aware they're doing these things. If you're wondering, okay, so who's Sunsoft? Because they really didn't make it out of the 16-bit era alive.
No.
Let's see. Think to the one good Batman game there was before they did Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
That was on NES. If you remember that game and its amazing music and the wall crawling mechanic, that was Sunsoft.
Yep.
That's how good they generally were.
Yep. Good and under the radar.
Always under the radar, which was really odd. They never became one of the Rockstar developers.
Yep. But yeah, I saw that. It was $25, but I'm like, okay, good condition, comes with a manual. Even I just barely heard of this one, and it's Sunsoft, so I wanted it.
Yes. And, it's a nice, fun little side-scroller.
Oh yeah.
And, it's always good to have another side-scroll shoot 'em up. They're, a good guilty pleasure, which brings us full circle, doesn't it?
Yes, yes. So, this week's episode, you've seen us talk about the height, you've seen us talk about the depths. You probably have a fair idea of what we're into, what we like. Now, unfortunately, you're going to get to know much more about us than I'm sure you ever wanted to.
Stick around, folks. We're going to air out some dirty laundry. Okay. We all have them.
Yep.
We all have those series that we really, really like, but when our friends ask us, what do you want to watch, we never mention it. And I think it's important that we do start talking more about those because it really helps break the mold, break this very tight, focused idea that not only we ourselves have of what is and is not in our medium, but also what makes us as fans who we are. If we go back to the 80s, we were all robots.
No.
Robots was it.
Yeah, robots, sci-fi in general, really. Kind of wrote off Star Wars for the most part.
Yeah. Throughout the 90s, it was ninjas and samurais and as much violence and blood as you could pack into it. It really hasn't been until the past decade and a half that we've started to get into, maybe there's a little bit more here than there is. And this led to some embarrassment, maybe. Some shyness. And some just stuff we don't get into.
Yeah. Well, plus, especially when you're talking about any art form, there's always that sort of that X factor, that something about this that makes something awesome that you can't quite put your finger on. And every now and then, something that's kind of not so awesome still ends up having that X factor for some of us.
Absolutely. It grabs you and you run with it. Yeah. So, we're going to run with a couple of our own in hopes that it inspires you guys to talk a little bit about, no, I really do like this.
Yep.
And we're going to start at the very surface, just kind of
like
not great.
Yeah, the first ones we do is going to be, okay, we might not be able to justify liking it as much as we do, but we can justify liking it, and then it's downhill from there.
So, hang on.
Meh. M-E-H. Meh.
Justin, I seem to recall you like this one series about android maids battling each other almost Pokemon style in one of the most...
Oh, okay. They don't battle each other. The two become friends after the one awakens.
So yeah, Pokemon style. And one of the most vomit-inducingly cute art styles ever made.
The manga has bare nipples. It's Steel Angel Kurumi, in case you hadn't guessed.
Yes.
Yeah, I like Steel Angel Kurumi. Steel Angel Kurumi is a really odd duck. I think it's fun because it doesn't take itself seriously. It's retro-futurist, which is a phrase that will always grab my attention, in that it's kind of set during the Russo-Japanese War, if they were able to build robot maids.
Japan probably would.
And it's really cute and quirky and funny and lighthearted, despite the fact that the female characters' chests were drawn with a compass, and it was set to constantly expanding circles.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, if this was made nowadays, they would have just used the balloon tool in Photoshop.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, but it's also 15-minute episodes. It's brief, it's funny. This sequel series isn't all that great, but I like it. I do like it. And Mike likes Slayer's TV.
Yes, yes I do.
I mean, no matter how much, if you actually corner Mike and ask him about Slayer's TV, he'll tell you about how repetitive it is, how bland the art is, how 90s the art is,
I don't know.
how he'd rather slam his dick in a door than get it anywhere near Naga the White Serpent.
No, I will say two of those things. The 90s thing and the Naga thing. Because that woman just terrifies me.
Most women terrify you, Mike. Oh, sternum.
Yes. Okay, anyway. But yes. So, okay, here's my thing about Slayers TV. First, I want to specify. I do not particularly like the OVAs or the movies, and I'm very skeptical about the recent TV series. I'm talking TV series 1 through 3. Slayers, Slayers Next, and Slayers Try. I know this sounds like excuses, but just shut up and let me do it. Okay. Here's why Slayers is actually good. Remember when we talked about Full Metal Panic? And we talked about it tried to be two things and failed miserably? Slayers is one of the very few shows to actually pull this off. It's goofy screwball 1 minute and stone-faced serious the next, but those moments feel genuine even if it's flip-flopping like a bipolar off his meds, which kind of describes the main character.
Yeah. In truth, I actually do like Slayers. I mean, not enough to watch it actively, but if somebody were to bring up, hey, you want to watch some Slayers? I'm down. I'm cool. It's just...
It's just, I like I said, as I just did, I can justify liking it. I cannot justify being anywhere near as much of a fan as I am. Like, it's basically what it is it's a fantasy series, but it's sort of...
It's a half-assed Dragon half, for starters.
So says you. But what I was going to say is, it's kind of, instead of an RPG video game being based on a fantasy story, it's a fantasy story with a lot of the tropes of RPG video games. Which makes sense why there were several RPGs on the Sega Saturn of all systems. But yes, it is very 90s, especially in the art style. But it's a fun time. It takes itself just seriously enough, and most importantly, it has characters that are both memorable and mostly likable. Except for Naga, because
She frightens.
well, I was just going to say she's a bitch. Also, Philly is kind of annoying.
Something.
Yeah.
Really, Commander?
Dangaioh.
Yeah.
You like it.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of other super mecha shows that are better than Dangaioh.
Yes, but
I mean, a lot of them.
yes, but how many of them have hot spandex-clad psychics piloting a psychic mech with rocket punch? That isn't
That's
made by
actually-
Go Nagai.
Okay, once you take the
Yes,
gun guy.
yes.
Godanner.
Sadly, I think more people know who Dangaioh is than Go Danner. There's maybe one person on the internet who knows who Go Danner is right now.
Yeah, and he's right here talking to you, telling you that Godanner was better than Dangaioh.
Anyway, so yes, Dangaioh, exactly what it sounds like. It's the full title is Hyper Combat Unit Dangaioh, and basically the joke I make about it is if someone ever asked me to write a super mech show, my reply would be, okay, but I'm just warning you right now, it's basically going to be Dangaioh. Because, and that's one of the reasons I like it. It's everything that I would write in a super mech show.
The problem is it's written about as well as he'd write it.
Admittedly, yes. Basic premise, like I said, hot chicks and one dude just for balance, all wearing spandex except for the dude, piloting a giant robot. They all have psychic powers. Their psychic powers feed into the robot, and they fight monsters in space.
That's it.
Yeah. That's all you need to know. Also, with one of the best opening... You have to admit, the opening theme's pretty awesome. Crossfight is pretty sweet.
Crossfight is a great opening theme. If you can justify anything about Dangaioh, it's Crossfight.
Yes. But other than that, its only purpose in life is to add to the Super Robot Wars roster.
Yeah.
Speaking of which...
What?
So, I recall you like a certain Super Robo series that's whole point is to make office jokes. It has office humor, that's universally appealing, right?
So Dai Guard is effectively the Dilbert of the Super Mecha
Yeah, it really
genre.
is, yes.
But Dilbert's funny and a multi-million... Okay, Dilbert's only sometimes funny, but it's a multi-million-dollar property, and Dai Guard is not.
Yeah.
Dai Guard, I recommended it to our question 2 weeks ago. And Dai Guard is a lot of fun because it's a satire. And it's a satire in which salarymen and janitors and so forth are the pilots of the giant robo in question.
Mm-hmm.
That's the company mascot, because a while ago it did successfully fight off an alien invasion, but now it's really just there to sell t-shirts.
So you see, right there, it breaks the most important rule about writing. Ask yourself 2 questions. 1, is this the most important or interesting time of your character's life? 2, if no, why aren't you writing about that?
Well, because the lead character is not...
I was referring to the robot.
Well, okay, the robot's not the most interesting part, and the robot is kind of clunkily designed. But the fact that this show exists,
Yeah.
the fact that somebody said, you know what, we need to make a humorous super mecha show, and it needs to be this sort of, I want to say, paperwork comedy. I love that. I love that about Dai Guard. And again, you can't fault the Dai Guard opening theme.
誰にだって何にだって止められはしないのさ路地裏で夢を見る宇宙少年の心はどこまでも燃えているそう太陽の子供さ結果出るまで勝負はわからないやってみなけりゃ全てはわからないわからないわからない
No, it's pretty good, although... I'm sorry, I just can't get past that premise, though. It's like, you would have made just as good a series if you threw Drew Carey into Mazinger. That might have even been better.
I would actually like to see Drew Carey piloting Mazinger Z. So, go to Guy if you're ever in Cleveland. Drew Carey, Mazinger Z. We could even get Joe Walsh to do the theme music.
Yeah.
Alright. Kind of the... You almost want to apologize for these ones, but okay.
Yeah.
If you've been following closely, you know that I like action, boobs, giant robots, fast cars, outer space,
Manliness.
I like Stallone.
Yeah.
I like Schwarzenegger before he was actually the world's best Arnold Schwarzenegger impersonator.
Yeah.
But I have this show that's a favorite of mine that I absolutely love, that I found it and became just riveted to it and I couldn't wait for more of it, and I enjoyed it so much, and it's none of those things. It is so far away from any of those things that whenever I say, but I love this, people really wonder if I've just been inhabited by some other creature. And it's Maria Watches Over Us.
Yep.
I know, it's weird, but this darling little show,
Yeah.
and not a little show. I mean, it covers multiple seasons.
Mm-hmm.
This darling little show about schoolgirl friendships.
Yep.
Granted, I mean, intimate friendships, but not sexual friendships. It's so well put together, and it is genuinely emotionally engaging. And it's humorous. I mean, there's this wonderfully light humor that goes on through it. And it's a very day-to-day humor.
But in terms of the department of all the things he listed that he likes, it's right about in the same bracket as Emma.
Yeah, it's right in there with Emma. I mean,
It's really only about a notch above Diamond Daydreams.
as a guy, you can almost make up for Azumanga because it's so much slapstick and it's so much sight gag. As a guy, you could almost make up for Haganai, which is a newer show, so
Yeah.
don't worry, Mike.
Oh, I'm
Because-
also familiar with that one.
There's so much perverse humor in it. It is blatantly sexual.
Yeah, isn't that the one with the rape closet?
That might be the one with the rape closet.
Yeah.
But with Maria Watches Over Us, it's not even that. It is just, here are these girls. These girls go through some trials and difficulties and misunderstandings during their friendship, during their time at school. And that's it.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing we can conclude on with everything you've said is its greatest strength is its greatest weakness.
Kind of.
It's doing all this, straight-faced stuff for all the right reasons, but it just ends up being boring.
And I don't find it. I find it,
Yeah.
as I said, it's very engaging to me. It's very beautiful to me. I just, I'll be sitting there, oh yeah, cutie honey, Keko Kamen. Maria Watches Over Us?
Yeah. Now,
But you.
yeah. So, God, okay. As you may recall, there was a certain thing I said we'd talk about later in our bad anime episode. Ladies and gentlemen of the internet, I have a confession to make. I, who am one of the biggest fans of Tezuka and Matsumoto and Shiro and Otomo, these are two of the biggest fans of those people sitting right before you. I love Battle Angel. I love everything about that. I love the purity of Tezuka, the manliness of Matsumoto. And unfortunately, I need to admit to you a terrible shame. I am a Galaxy Fraulein Yuna fan. I don't just mean a casual viewer. I am a fanboy.
It's kind of terrifying.
Yes,
Real
as it is.
You have to wrap your head around what Galaxy Fraulein Yuna is.
Yes.
Like, look at this.
Yes. Wait. Let's do justice. Okay, go on.
Look at this.
Yes, this is the stuff I usually love.
Now, look at, well, roll tape.
Yeah.
今日もパリパリビーツいつでも私ブギウギダンス自由にだから very very good はしゃいだハートに夢が溢れ出す 楽しくて時間を忘れるくらい毎日が加速度つけて過ぎてゆく時々は傷ついてブルーにもなるけれどすぐに取り戻すわじっとしてないの私の胸にリンゴリンゴベル少しもじっとできないの素敵な予感は誰よりもわかるの必ずほらねパリパリビーツいつでも私ブギウギダンス自由にだから very very good はしゃいだハートに夢が溢れ出す
Does that strike you as the same material that a man whose favorite short in Robot Carnival was Presents would enjoy?
Nope. As you may or may not have gleaned from that, Galaxy Fraulein Yuna is basically what you would get if you made a futuristic sci-fi magical girl show. Based on a series of Japanese-only adventure video games, no less. All it is a bunch of teenage girls. Well, no, you know, I will say this is one thing I can say about it in its defense. A futuristic sci-fi magical girl show still means we get chicks running around in suits of quasi-magical power armor. Come
Not
on.
buying it.
Ugh.
Okay. I defend Maria Watches Over Us in that it is the very best example of what it is. It's just that what it is completely so far left field from me that I have a hard time pointing out that I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah. Yeah, Galaxy Fraulein Yuna is kind of a lot of things I hate. It's, well, for one, it's, I hate when they make, you know, cracks about, you know, ambiguously gay characters. The main character is basically a drooling fangirl for this other chick, and it's kind of up in the air whether she's just that big a fangirl or she's gay for her.
The shadow of evil approaches a delicate flower. But worry not, for I will not let this flower fall. No one shall touch this innocent young blossom while the masked maiden Paulina still stands. Nobody!
Wow, it really is a masked maiden Paulina! Oh my god, I can't believe you're here!
That's right, Yuna. I'm here as your special Christmas present today.
Does that mean I can do anything I want with you? Anything?
Well...
I absolutely abhor that. I find it stupid, I find it retarded, but I also find myself laughing at every stupid joke they make like that. And I don't know why.
This just... Mike is normally a very rational individual. Mike is a man of discerning taste and great historical background. But there's this little switch in his brain.
Yeah.
That when he sees that blonde in the blue and white power armor, he buys things.
Yes.
And he gets home and he looks at the things he buys. And he puts them in a box. And puts that box at the back of his collection. Because he knows when his friends come over to his place, like, so Mike, what did you get this week? He can't open that box.
Oh, man. Although, and again, one thing I can kind of sort of say in its defense, while it is kind of the start of all the bad ways anime has gone the last couple decades, I think we can agree with that. This is in that starting wave of that kind of mentality.
Yeah,
I will say, Galaxy of Fraulein Yuna is as far as you can go in that direction without it being complete crap. I think we can at least agree on that.
I think we can say pretty close to that.
Yeah.
And it's not as if it's all bad. I mean,
no.
I will say he's got a really, really nice Galaxy Fraulein Yuna action figure that I wouldn't mind owning myself if I didn't know what it was from.
Yeah.
I believe you've got a Sega...
Yeah, I have the Galaxy Fraulein Yuna Remix Sega CD game. Galaxy Fraulein Yuna Remix is a Sega Saturn, I should say, remake of the original game, which I think was on MSX. No, it was on PC Engine, I think.
Yeah. It's kind of funny, too, because there is a lot of merch.
Yeah.
For Yuna.
Just not so much here. In fact, the two very short OVAs that were released here is the only reason the show has any American following.
Right. So, in order to have been an American fan of this show, you had to just grab those OAVs on chance, because they weren't highly marketed or anything. It was kind of a toss in, here, let's see if this sticks sort of deal.
Yep.
And Mike, in his wholehearted collecting, came across this and watched it and loved it. And just... Yes. And so he is quite possibly the American collector of Galaxy Fraulein Yuna merchandise.
Yeah, one of the few left, anyway.
And you know what, Mike? For all the shit I give you about Galaxy Fraulein Yuna collecting, at least you love it.
Yes. Yes. It's, like he said, it's not absolute shit. On the bright side, like I said, it is genuine sci-fi. Mm-hmm. It's not just Magical Girl with sci-fi window dressing. It features a character that's a blatant knockoff of Kosuke Fujishima designs. Princess Mirage, basically what you would get if you shoved Veldandi, Peorth, and Erd into one character. Can't argue with that.
No.
And it does have this very genuine sort of... I hate to say this, but it goes on that stereotype of anime that goes on about the power of friendship. It goes into that without any quote self-awareness. It's just like
there's authenticity to it.
Yes, that's the best way
all
to word
of it. This was clearly created to merchandise and to claim the last yen out of some poor sap.
Mm-hmm.
It's surprisingly authentic.
Yes.
And God, it's just so... I couldn't imagine you not being a fan of it, but only because I've known you this long.
Yeah.
But dear God, it's a good thing that you didn't mention it on day one.
No, yeah, I would have never dreamed of it. But yeah, so, like we said, search through your watched list. I'm sure there's more than a few things you guys have seen where it's like, I really like this, but I don't know why.
And if you ever really doubt that, this isn't, I love this, but it isn't really me, or I love this, but it's not very good, just remember, Justin watches Maria watches over us.
And Mike watches Galaxy Fraulein Yuna. So now that we've destroyed just about any and all credibility we might have, we're going to use that newfound lack of credibility to answer some questions.
Absolutely, because nothing says, I really don't know what I'm talking about, like admitting that you watch Galaxy Fraulein Yuna.
Yep.
But this week's question actually comes from our YouTube comments section, and thank you much for that. The question reads as follows, and it's kind of a two-part question.
Oh, don't forget to say the name.
So this is from Mike Snyder. Hello, Mike and Justin. Love the show. Well, you didn't mention what show.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I'm going to try and get the word out to my friends and support the cause. Good. Remember, the cause is Robot Carnival licensed.
Yes.
I would like to know more about how you two got the show together and how you found the different series that you read. I'm not very familiar with anything but Ghost in the Shell, which shows on Toonami some nights, but I'm more familiar with manga like Dragon Ball Z and Naruto. Oh, good question, Mike.
Yep. Well, I'll take the how we got the show started. In terms of the technical aspects of actually getting a show together, it's not all that hard, to be honest. You need a camera, a few bucks for, making some hillbilly rigged lighting, and maybe a tripod, and potentially a friend.
Yes.
And that's about it. In terms of how we actually got this going, actually started out, he came over at my house, we decided to not do what we got together to do and just started talking, and I was lamenting, oh god, I wish I could, have a job where I could, write reviews or write articles about anime. I mean, this isn't a paying job, mind you, but...
No.
And he brought forth that he and one of his friends was talking about years ago doing a YouTube video channel just like we're doing now. So we sat down, we actually did dry runs of several episodes, realized we, had a good thing going.
Yeah, we realized we enjoyed sitting in front of a camera and talking about anime.
Yeah.
So we then decided to upload what the conversations were and went from there. And that is how Maison Otaku came to be.
Yep.
It just
primarily as cameras don't have eyes that glaze over.
Yes. As to finding stuff to talk about, the easiest place to start is your collection. Just because you're a Naruto or Dragon Ball Z fan doesn't mean you have nothing to say about anime.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I personally can admit to giving Shonen Jump fans a ton of stick.
Yep.
The ones who just want to stick to that.
Yep.
But it doesn't make you really any less of a fan. It just means you're less varied.
Yeah, there is nothing wrong with being a noob. It's just there's everything wrong with not wanting to expand your knowledge base.
Yeah. The easiest way to find something beyond what you're familiar with is trying something different.
Mm-hmm.
You can get just as much mileage, speech-wise, out of something that's not very good as something that is good. Something you didn't enjoy as something you did enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And the dialogue of I enjoyed and I didn't enjoy will lead to more interaction and more chances to discover more things.
Mm-hmm.
I got my start with anime with the very first thing I saw was Project A-ko, followed by Dominion Tank Police, followed by Bubblegum Crisis. When you have that start, you'd think that everything I like would be 80s, action, robots, power suits, that sort of thing. But in truth, just look at all the stuff we've covered.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd just go into the section. I'd go into the catalog.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd see, oh, this looks interesting, or this is done by some of the same creators who did something I already like.
Yep.
And it just builds from there.
Yeah, one of the things I used to do is not so much a thing anymore, but in the 90s, you had a lot of anime companies would show like 10 minutes worth of trailers at the beginning of their videos. And so it just got to a point where I would watch these, and I would write down the names of all these things, and then I would carry that list around with me when I went to used tape stores and stuff like that.
Absolutely. previews are a very underrated piece. And quite frankly, some of the best previews are on older DVDs. Pioneer used to do really good
Pioneers would do
previews that were actually fairly good at being a trailer, a proper trailer, rather than just a couple of clips set to some charging rock music like US Manga Corps used to do.
Although I do have to say, I do still prefer those, to be honest. To me, the best era for anime trailers was in the 90s with US Manga Corps, with ADV, where it was basically just 10 minutes of AMVs. But that once again, is a whole other episode right there.
Yeah. But, yeah. I really can't give you a source other than yourself for where can I find more things to talk about. But I can tell you, if you like Dragon Ball Z and you like Naruto, those are both Shonen Jump creations. Shonen Jump being a manga anthology from Japan that was actually brought over. So your best bet may be to read some of the other things in Shonen Jump. And that would lead you to Hunter x Hunter, Bleach, I suppose. And from there, sky's the limit.
Yep.
And speaking of the sky's the limit, here's a far-out creation for my recommendation for the week.
Oh yeah.
And we've been waiting to talk about something by this creator.
Oh yes, yes.
I decided to start at the top of the iceberg on this one. Not the peak of the iceberg, but the top of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Do you like techno music? Do you like classic space opera?
Do you like Leiji Matsumoto character designs? Does the combination of these things sound good to you?
Interstellar 5555. This secret star system. It's a house techno musical. Anime.
Yes.
Space opera.
Yes.
Yes! I mean, it's very simple setup.
Oh yeah. Well, actually, we should start by talking about how this got started.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm pretty sure everyone watching this knows who Daft Punk is. There's no way they can't.
At this point, Daft Punk they are mass media.
They're mainstream these
They're
days.
mainstream. And Daft Punk are two French guys.
Yep.
And
anime, especially the works of Leiji Matsumoto, is freaking popular in France.
Right.
Has been since the 70s, believe it or not.
In the 70s, Captain Harlock was taken over to France.
Albator, for if we have anyone in France watching.
Yes, it was dubbed into French under the title Albator. And Albator was a massive pop culture piece, comparable to Star Blazers here in the States.
Yeah, basically same setup.
And once Daft Punk got a little bit of success behind them with their Discovery album, they contacted Leiji Matsumoto himself to say, "Hey, look, we love your stuff. We're Albator fans.
Yep.
Could we do something?"
Yep. And Matsumoto was actually very enthusiastic about this.
Yeah. The man was just beside himself. There's a great little opening sequence to the film where he's discussing why he loves musicians so much, why he's a fan of music. And it's a very poetic little statement before things just roll into this great story of a rock band from another planet that gets abducted by this evil immortal duke who's using abducted aliens that are transmogrified into humans, turned into big-time music stars, to gather gold records to fuel a doomsday device that's going to destroy
Yep.
the universe. Because he blames the universe for killing his dad.
Yep. Makes at least as much sense as Macross 7.
At least as much sense as that person. And the only person who's going to foil this plan is, and he's only mentioned by name in the documentation, Shep.
Yep.
And Shep, he's in love with the bassist, who's really hot. I mean, classically Matsumoto.
Yeah,
hot.
I was gonna say, she's a Matsumoto heroine. I don't think Matsumoto knows how to draw ugly women under the age of 30.
This is true. And, I mean, it's not that she's in love with him back, it's just he's a fan of the band and he thinks she's really hot. And he finds out the band's been abducted, so he
Hero time.
hero times it.
Yeah.
And he is a fantastic hero and whole emotional spectrum, comedy, drama, melancholy, romance, all without any dialogue, just the soundtrack of the Daft Punk Discovery album.
Yep. And whether you realize it or not, I'm fairly certain most of you have probably seen this, because the first video, One More Time, was... God, that thing was like on how many times a day back then?
Absolutely. And the first 4 segments of the film were shown on Toonami as a special event.
Oh
on
yeah,
the
yeah, I
Midnight
forgot about
Run,
that. Yep.
which gave us all a little taste, but it was so quickly overshadowed because it was kind of this weird thing nobody really knew what to do with. But for a lot of anime fans, it was the first time they ever heard One More Time.
Oh yeah.
Or, for that matter, Better, Faster, Stronger.
Yep.
And just absolutely. The only trick to getting it was it's a virgin release.
Yes. Yeah. In fact, in our very first episode, you may remember him making mention of companies who made, as he worded it, brief forays into distributing. Amongst them was Virgin Records, as we cited this. Yeah. Very low output.
Very low output, difficult to find, highly collectible.
About the only thing that's even harder to get is the action figure set.
Oh boy. That'll hurt you.
Yeah.
Because they did a full 5-piece action figure
the
set.
whole band.
Plus Chef.
Yep.
Ouch.
Yeah, it's... I don't know, what was that going for last we checked?
Last time I actually searched for one...
When you can find one.
Yeah, last time I searched for one and hit on one, it was $180.
Oh, that little! Wow.
Yeah.
I've seen some go for like $300 or $400.
It's painful, but good God, I would love to have
Oh
it.
yeah, that'd be
That'd be a centerpiece.
that'd be right up
Right
here.
here.
We would never move that.
Yeah.
And mind you, that's usually where I keep the Arcadia when we're not filming, so that's saying something.
Yeah, I mean the only thing that would be superior to having the complete Cressendall set would be having the Bandai 1/350th scale, space battleship Yamato with the moving turrets and the light up wave motion gun.
Yep. Although honestly, I think the only thing better than even that is having the 144th scale Dendrobium.
The Dendrobium is nice.
And now having established that Sunrise is superior to something else.
But only by a little bit. We think it's probably time to call it an episode.
Yep.
Thank you again, and we'll be, of course, talking to you again. So from all of us here at Maison Otaku,
This is Mike,
and this is Justin, saying, enjoy what you watch.
and share what you enjoy.
体中